Hey! Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the Dice Tower. So?
Hi, I'm Eric Summerer, and here's what's coming from the Dice Tower this week.
Hey folks, welcome to the Dice Tower, live from Korea. Okay, actually most of this video is going to be recorded in America, but I thought I'd record the intro here at least. I was gone last week in Korea, so you saw some reviews get out, but not as many. You are now going to be swarmed with reviews. You are now going to see tons of stuff coming from the Dice Tower. We're going to be starting Ryan Metzler's top 100 games of all time this week. You'll see hopefully a new top 10 list. You will see there's all kinds of cool stuff coming your way, folks. We are back with a vengeance, lots of great stuff. But first, the news, and back to America. News, so let's get right to it. First of all, the folks from AG have released a new picture for the new expansion for Smash Up, showing a bearded man with glasses that says, "For Science," or for Pseudoscience. I don't know what that faction is going to be. A new Carcassonne standalone game, Carcassonne South Sea, is going to be released. Now, I know some people are like, oh, another Carcassonne. But Carcassonne is a fantastic game, so why not have more? The idea of connecting the tiles is a great one. Jungle Speed, speaking of another, redoings, Jungle Speed Safari is coming out. It looks like there's multiple totems to grab, so that should be a nice play on that. Dungeon Fighter, they've announced a new expansion for that, The Big Wave. Not much more information, but the picture looks really cool. Fantasy Flight has announced a new expansion for Wiz War, Malefic Curses. And they've also announced some novels for Arkham Horror. Now this is interesting because basically we have novels based on the game that was based on the original novels, the H.P. Lovecraft novels. So, well, anyway, that's that. Lots of Kickstarter news in the works. Minion Games has put out Battle Merchants up on Kickstarter. This looks pretty cool. Basically, you are arms dealers in a fantasy world. So that sounds interesting. Infamy from Mercury, where you they keep talking about shades of Total Recall, but basically in this game you're a crime lord on Mars. Ape Games has put up Roar, which is another game in the very popular current genre of monster games. Dr. Finn's Games, and they put up some really cool little small games. They put up a game called Capo de Capi, which was actually the original name of our game, Nothing Personal. But we decided to change it, and so this is another game about Mafia, which is great. This one looks like it's a lighter dice rolling game. Alien Uprising. I'll be doing a preview video of this week. This is a great cooperative game in which your spaceship lands on a planet. This is from a new company called Mr. B Games, started by Sean Brown, who used to work for Griffin Games. He and Richard Launius have co-designed this. It's a really good one. And also on Kickstarter, the A1 folks have put up Tide of Iron. There's a new starter set. The original box was gigantic. They're going to have a new starter set that's a smaller box you can get involved with. Also, their first expansion for the game, Stalingrad. There's going to be a new deluxe version of Hanabi with tiles that you'll be able to stand up. So that's pretty cool. I think that would be a neat version of the game to own. Ricochet Robots is coming back in print. Looks like it'll be a similar game to the original one, maybe a new map. One of my listeners informed me that Plano boxes, these, the ones I have behind me on the shelf, I really like these Plano boxes. They're 3 slots in them. You can put 3 different games in them. This one here, for example, has my start player, has my little bomb inside that I use for start playing, and also a little game called Pocket Rockets. And you can put these in here. And so I have different games in here. I have the different card games. I keep all my stuff for Battleground Fantasy Warfare. Anyway, they're back in stock, so if you want to get them from Plano, they're 5303-01, 5303-01, and these are great. They're some of the best boxes I've ever used for a game. CGE has announced a whole pile of new stuff they'll be releasing at Essen, and this, now that Gen Con is over, the whole focus of Gamingdom is now focused on the Essen Fair, which is coming up very soon. They've announced Tashkalar, Arena of Legends. Now this is interesting because this is a game in which you have a summoner summoning creatures to fight another summoner who's summoning creatures. Really? Mage Wars, Summoner Wars, all this? But this one sounds different. It's a game in which you have patterns. You're putting things on the board to form patterns, and you'll use those patterns to summon creatures. So it sounds different. Expansionitis, also from CGE. Getting Sacked from Last Will. Last Will is a game in which you try to go broke over the course of the game. Now you're trying to get fired at the same time, and your employee might be nice. Oh, that's no big deal. And you also might want to get married and find someone extravagant to spend all your money on. Zulkin has a new Tribes and Prophecies expansion coming out, all based on a number 13, where they'll have special abilities and prophecies and things. Galaxy Trucker, latest models, I mentioned that last time. And Dungeon Pets Dark Alleys. So a lot coming out from them. Whew, that's a lot of news. News of the week for me is from Arcane Wonders and their newest expansion for Mage Wars, which is a game I like a lot, Druid vs. Necromancer. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. It's a new expansion that has 216 cards, 60 different new spell cards, and obviously 2 new archetype mages, the Druid and the Necromancer. Now, the Druid is going to be a creature that bonds with trees and uses plants and things, and some of the cards are really cool, different plant creatures that they have. The Druid can bond with a tree and use that tree to attack and things, and also can shoot vines all over the board. Oh, that's cool and all, but I'm really interested in the Necromancer. The Necromancer can make like an eternal servant one of his creatures, who that when that guy dies, you can raise him up again. Or there's even a way to bring back the enemies that you defeat. You have your zombies kill your enemies, and then you can revive them, and they're zombies. It's a pretty cool theme. I think the only thing I'm not really interested in is that there's 2 new books in this one with 2 new covers, and they have this stretched zombie skin cover for the book, and that's kind of gross. But there's all sorts of really cool creatures in this one. There's new things, growth, where you can take a creature and make it big, corrode, turn creatures into zombie, have them infected by larvae from a tree. So a lot of cool things. This expansion's coming out very soon. Druid vs. Necromancer. Alright, there's no time to fool around really with reviews. So we have a lot of great reviews coming out this week. My reviewers have really got on the ball. Bart has a review of Firefly. I think I have like maybe 12, 13 reviews from the other reviewers coming out. For myself, there's a lot of stuff here that I need to get played and reviewed this week. I think I can promise you that I will be taking a look at the new X-Wing ships this week. We'll be taking a look at Lost Dutchman, 1775, Trains, Crossways, and hopefully some of the stuff here, Shafalsa, probably. I'm going to be going through a walkthrough through Nothing Personal to explain how to play it for people who've got that. Downfall of Pompeii, and maybe some of the other stuff. There's really just so much here, and it's time for me to jump into that full guns blazing. Zach emailed me and asked me about how we store Dominion, because Dominion's a real pain in the neck to store, especially with all the expansions. I think the expansions are done now. This is what I store Dominion in, and I'm not really happy with this. I know there's a lot of great boxes to store Dominion in, but they're all really expensive, and so these boxes are much cheaper. But this is how I store Dominion right now, one of these 3-tiered baseball card boxes, and I possibly could have stored it in 2, I suppose. On the side here, I have a huge deck of cards. This is one of everything. This is my black market deck. This is one of each card, so the rest of the cards that are in here, I have in here in groups of 9. So if I want to use the black market, I have a ready-made black market deck, but also if I need my randomizer cards, I just pull some cards from here, find their matching cards, and play a game with them. And then I also have the different coins and tokens that I use in the game, the different big boards here from Seaside, and a few other things that might be in here, the rewards and a couple other tokens. I use these come in a lot of different games now, mostly from AEG, to keep the cards in place. And then here, I simply have all the cards in alphabetical order. Now, I used 3x5 cards. I had to cut them down a little bit, and I guess I have these facing the wrong way. That makes much more sense. And you can see that I have each of the cards. I just use white for the most part, but sometimes I would use a different color based on what kind of card it was. So if it was a victory point card, I use green. If it was a treasure card, I use yellow. If it was one of the Seaside cards, I use orange cards. And so they're pretty easy to go through and look and find the cards that I need. I just pull them out, and then here at the very beginning, I have the big ones. You can see the shelters and runes and platinum and gold and silver. And so this is not really easy to transport, this whole system. I mean, it works okay, and I can put everything on it, but I'm afraid to turn it sideways or anything. This is kind of a temporary solution. I'm still looking for the ultimate Dominion way to store all the cards, but this is what I do for now. Hey folks, if you go to DicetowerNetwork.com, you'll notice occasionally that podcasts will disappear off of it, and that's because I try to keep it current. Some podcasts pod fade, others join another network or what have you. There might be different reasons for them leaving, but what we want is we want a page of current, up-to-date, good podcasts. So we're actually adding a new one this week, and you'll notice that some have gone away, but that way you can go there and know you're going to find podcasts that are still around. Speaking of our podcast, Ludology number 64 talks about the ABCs of CCGs with special guest Mike Fitzgerald, who might be the father of collectible card gaming. I think so. Plaid Hat number 104, they talk about nostalgia and it affects how much you like a game. Do I like a game because it's good or because I remembered it was good? Not Just Another Gaming Podcast introduces a brand new format for their episodes in number 35, and they also review Boss Monster. Game Out was 28.5. They take a look at Forbidden Island again. Secret Cabal, number 48. They review Manhattan Project, but spend a good chunk of the episode talking about their fun experiences at Gen Con. And Gamer Chris, number 15, talks about solo games. The Long View has a podcast in which Joel Eddy comes on, and they take a look at Le Havre. Board Game University, I just posted one this morning. Didn't have time to post it last week with me being in Korea. And so there's one of those that came out, and then another one coming out this week. So please check those out. Interviews with designers and publishers at BoardGameUniversity.com. And a brand new podcast that will hopefully be launched this week, Dice Tower Showdown. Finally ready to go. Really excited about this one, so keep an eye out for that one. Lots more coming from the Dice Tower, including our own show coming out tomorrow. You can find all that at DicetowerNetwork.com. Each week, I take a look at one of the shelves and I tell you why I've kept the games. Because I get games coming in all the time and I cannot keep all of them. And when I keep games, I have to get rid of other games. That's just how I'm going to work. I have about 300 games total out of the 3,000 plus that I've played. And so why do I keep these? This shelf here, Kingsburg is a great dice game that I liked instantly upon playing it. I still enjoy it quite a bit. I think it works well with 2 to 5 players, really. It's a great, I like playing dice. Small World, another game that's an obvious one. Now this one is in multiple boxes all around the place because there's a lot that's involved with it now, and it's becoming kind of a pain to store, but still a great game. Pillars of the Earth, fantastic Euro. If you watched our top 10 Euro games, you saw why we like this one so much. Domain is another Euro game I like, but it's mean. It's designed by Klaus Teuber, who did Settlers of Catan, but Domain is great because you're fighting over land back and forth. King of Tokyo here, obvious one. I mean, come on, it's a great game. Just went to Korea for a trip, took King of Tokyo with me because I knew that I'd get a chance to play it, and I did, and it was fun. Lords of Vegas has the idea of building casinos with a little bit of luck and gambling involved. Manila, speaking of luck and gambling, Manila is one of the best gambling games ever made. As you race boats down the river in the Philippines, lots of fun. Seasons is a great new game that came out last year. Really shines with 2 players, but also all the way up to 4. Lots of things. And the first expansion gave it a little bit of a boost, but even without that, it was a very fun game. And Mystery of the Abbey, just a superb deduction game. A game I like quite a bit, so I'm glad to keep that one. Hey, let's make this short this week. I want to talk a little bit about zombies. I mentioned that I wasn't a big fan of zombie games, thought the zombie theme was being overused on the internet, and somebody posted some number where they said that there was like 600 zombie games, and then there was, 5,000 fantasy games and 3,000 train games and yada, 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 and so there wasn't really that many zombie games, so why am I annoyed that there's so many zombie games? I think this is my response to that. Again, if you like zombie games, that's fantastic. I mean, you're kind of living in your golden age right now because there's so many of them out there. I think for me, the reason that there's 5,000 plus fantasy games and only 400 or 500 zombie games, I think the zombie games still feel like too many for a couple reasons. Fantasy is a very broad genre. I mean, it can involve attacking in a dungeon. It can involve defending your castle from hordes of people. It can involve just going around and venturing around the place. It could involve romancing a princess. There's all sorts of things that fantasy can involve. I think that just as with fantasy, I think horror is a category that can involve quite a few things. See, that's the difference. I don't think zombies is equal to fantasy. I think horror is equal to fantasy. And I would certainly agree that there's not enough good horror games out there. But I think zombies is a very specific subset of horror. We're not seeing that many of other sets of horror. We don't see many games about skeletons. We see there's a decent amount about vampires thanks to some popular movies. But, Frankenstein type things, monster labs, mad scientists, there's not as much horror out there as there could be. Zombies, for me, it's basically a band of survivors that gets together and they manage to fight off the zombie hordes. Now, this trope has been done in different ways, and there are some unique instances, like in Mall of Horror, where you're throwing people out to the zombies. But essentially, most of the time, you're fighting zombies that are coming at you. And the zombies walk or run or whatever, and you find whatever weapons you can. And so that, I think, is my problem with the zombie genre, is that it just continues to be the same thing over and over again, at least thematically wise. Trains, you can say, trains, yes, and trains does connect things. But with trains, I feel a big difference sometimes in a train game in Europe or a train game here, or this train game deals with stocks, and this train game deals with transporting people. And I would certainly agree with you that there's too many train games at this point in time, probably. But I think zombies reaches its saturation point, at least for me, because the theming is so different. Now, I know in response to this video, someone's going to say, but what about X? And they'll point out a zombie game that is different than the rest. I know Texas Zombies, for example, is a storytelling game about zombies. And you're right, those games are, whatever you're going to mention, that is an exception to this. But I think the vast majority of zombie games, even the good ones, do the same thing over and over again. So when I hear about yet another zombie game and I complain about it, it's because I feel like I'm just going to get that same theme again while I'm looking for something different. That's all. Besides, does it really matter? Not really. Hey, look, we're back in Korea again. I guess that's just how these things work. This has been a great week for me here. I was able to get a lot done while I was in Korea, had an enjoyable time, but it's time, like I said, to get back. Remember, you can find about all our new shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. You can find out about anything new that we put up is at Dicetower.com. Oh yeah, this is a big deal. Next week we'll announce the winner of our contest and hopefully the big, grandiose, big prize winner that wins $500. Very exciting things there. So that's coming up a week away from now. Until then, I probably should get started working on these videos. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
To find out more about all of our podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com. To see a listing of our videos, head to Dicetower.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cool Stuff Incorporated, where you can buy games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock.
Shut the door.